have an information session in two parts. I'm going to run through a background of USC and DC with the Capitol campus as our home base. And as I run through slides relatively quickly, I don't want to get in the way of the showstoppers who are here with Chris C. as well as Mia Fields. And I just heard as we start this session, we also may have another couple folks who would be most welcome to participate and talk about experiences in DC. Also, by the way, we did hear from some folks who wanted a recording. At the same time, even though we're recording this, and this, by the way, Lauren, I'm not positive that I have the access to do recording. So if we're not recording yet, feel free to let it run. My name is Amy Morrill-Bijot. I'm the academic director of programs here at the USC Capitol campus. And I'm so pleased to talk to you about cracking the code and landing your DC internships. I think many of you are planning to come to DC in the summer, so we'll be pointing somewhat on that, but this is a broad overview of being successful and teaching you some good skills about landing in the exciting US capital city. This presentation itself is available to all of you in the QR code. So if you feel like I'm going too quick, and I am going to be pretty speedy running through this, go ahead and point your phone to the QR code. I also have some other resources in upcoming QR codes, so feel free to stay on your toes or have your phone at the ready to capture this. And again, Lauren and I will be following up with you, but we're really delighted by your interest in coming here. Your education at USC is coast to coast, where here you are in, for majority of you, based in LA at the University Park campus, and we warmly welcome you to the East Coast campus in Washington, D.C. The USC Capitol campus is this gorgeous facility in DuPont Circle, a thriving neighborhood in Washington, D.C., where we're literally next door to the World Bank. And when you go just a little further, we're at the White House, and then you go beyond that, then there's Capitol Hill. So we're in the middle of really the central nervous system of Washington, D.C. And this city is a great launch pad for career opportunities of all kinds. This city will give you global perspective. It will invite you into the electric Trojan family, and you can have a lot of fun in Washington, D.C. That's such a vibrant capital city. So when you're thinking about starting your search, I like to consider that Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. And then the next best time is to start now. And you can use that analogy for starting your search for your internship or your career development in Washington. Now is the time to get started, and we have ideas to help. I don't know about you guys, but one of the most exciting parts of my weekend was watching Juju slay. On the basketball court, she showed the USC excellence. And I feel like internship searching and career development, you can often learn lessons from being an athlete. You're not going to get in shape by going to the gym once the same way for your internship and career searching. It takes a lot more effort than just going to the basketball court one time. Juju is spending hours there on the court perfecting her many moves. One of my personal stories, favorite stories, by the way, the Trojans beat LA, UCLA over the weekend in rowing. As myself having recently picked up this sport, I often am taking lessons from this sport and applying it into career opportunities. And let me tell you about those few quick ideas on the lessons here that I learn. When it comes to rowing and internship searching alike, it takes a lot of strength. It takes persistence and focus. It takes a lot of teamwork and logging in. I know from my work as I'm a rower, it's my coach's feedback. And by the way, here with Lauren, myself, even your peers, it's a whole community at USC that can help you get better. So as an athlete and as a student in life, you're going to do well by reaching out and asking for mentoring. By the way, look at that V splash. V splash in rowing means that you're putting the blade in, the oar in at the right time, and then you're ready to press. We're going to give you some pro tips today on creating your version of a V splash. In Washington, we're going to help you plug into resources in DC with many connections. So whether you're going to land at insert name of exciting internship or something that you might not necessarily have known about, we're going to help you plug in. I do feel like sometimes in life, since we live in this automated world where things are easy, like when let's say you want to get your Stanley Cup, let's say you're logging in Amazon and you click the link and suddenly the next day your cup appears. I feel like that sense of ease filters a little bit into the culture and our frame of mind for the way the world ought to work. Things ought to be so easy, right? But when it comes to internship searching and career searching, it's a lot harder than going into landing to ordering a Stanley Cup. Sure, once in a while, you might hear from students who landed an internship from one application. Those cases are highly rare. One of my favorite stories of internship searching is I coached a freshman student who was excited about going to the Department of Justice. And I said, that would be a very hard placement to get. But I gave her access to a system like Handshake, and she logged in, I noticed 84 times. And that was one of the highest records I'd seen from students. And she landed her DOJ internship from her persistence. It was the opposite of easy access. So when you think of either Juju on the court and the way that she's so masterful, it's a kind of strength and tenacity. It's a lot kind of what you think about what helped you get into USC and what makes you a great student at this elite school. You need to apply those skills. Think about your activities that you've been involved in, whether it's the cycling club or in debate or on the soccer team, and whatever your activities are, we want you to harvest those experiences, ensure they're shining on your materials as you reach out, utilize the Trojan network. So sometimes when students come in, of course, when I look at resumes, I think, wow, you are really going to take charge of Washington and of the world in your future. And I think at some point, students start to realize that oftentimes they are going to be the smartest ones in the room. At the same time, as much as you have tremendous talents and strengths, we also want you to be careful about who you are as your background starting out early in your career searching. You in this slide illustration, you're more like the kitten. Even if you feel like you're the lion, employers are often seeing you more as the kitten in terms of this is your stage in career development. You're earlier on. You have a lot to give. You absolutely can nail a placement, and we want you to feel confident. But we also want you to be deferential, again, to work hard. That's the theme here in this session today. On this slide, you'll see one of my very personal favorite USC alums, America Ferrera, and she herself was an intern in DC. When she landed in DC in the early 2000s, she was trotting a little bit back and forth. It was the beginning of her career on the silver screen, and she started but she also, as she was getting her TV shows going on and other and becoming a movie star, she was doing an internship in a nonprofit. DC represents a lot of different industries. America Ferrera, if you follow her, you know, in addition to her being a megastar, that she's also an activist. And her background really in some of the activism did plug into the things that we do in Washington. If you click or if you train your phone to this QR code, you'll see that I've loaded about 200 of my favorite internships in Washington in a spreadsheet. So go ahead and open that as we're talking here, because I want you to leave this session with some brand new contacts that are going to be really helpful to you, that now you can be armed with some of the suggestions that I have in the slides ahead. Again, DC really does represent different industries, from the obvious when it comes to politics and international relations and law, but also lots in communications, also in there's certainly business and so many other sectors as well. And as you can see here, some of the most obvious internships are on Capitol Hill, and you're going to soon be hearing from Chris and Mia on their stories. We're going to welcome others to chime in to give their perspective in addition. And this is a city where we want you to set your sights on something ambitious. Let's say you want to be like one of our USC Dornsife students who landed at State Department. It's really late to land at State Department for summer 2025. But on the list of the link that I shared with you, again, this QR code is still the same one that'll take you to that same list. You'll see right at the top of the list, ADST, the Association for Diplomatic Studies and Training. ADST is quasi-State Department, and they would likely still take students. One of the common themes you're going to hear from, I know from Mia, perhaps from Chris too, is it feels like sometimes internship searching is like working in a vacuum. Sometimes you feel like you're just sending emails out there and you're not getting much love back. But when you focus on the list that I gave you, when you talk to us, we're going to give you ideas on how to activate your network. So ADST tends to take interns later. You're going to have to reach out to them and apply. I did notice, I think it's even one of the presidents right now of ADST that works on State Department issues in international affairs, that he's a USC alum, and more on leveraging that USC alum status in a minute. But we want you to think ambitiously, and again, being persistent with the way that you're applying. It would be a mistake to think that you could just email ADST, if that's one of your choices, once and think that you're done. The correct way to land is to consider searching a whole process. Think about the way that you can be creative. Think about how you're going to send personalized messages to employers, whether you see an article in the Washington Post or the LA Times, or maybe on your LinkedIn in your profile, or otherwise in social media. Maybe you're seeing on a feed an update from one of your targeted sites. I want you to be perking up your ears for the big news that's coming from Washington. Yes, this is a city in major transition, and it's also a city even in transition that has opportunities. So we want you to stay active, and we want you to find a way that shows who you are to folks in Washington. So you're reaching out with, let's say, a cold list that I'm sending you from these pixelated dots on a screen. We want you to have a warm touch. We want you to find, especially using that USC student status as a part of the profile of who you are when you're reaching out to employers. We want you to find that personalized outreach, whether you're also sometimes looking for a reason to reach out. Maybe it is in Washington, we're suddenly having a little bit of spring weather. If you're starting to think about what Washington, D.C. feels like, you can notice that that this week we have temperatures in the in the, I think, low 70s. So that could be one of the reasons you're reaching out is the weather's turning warmer. You're thinking about being in DC for the summer. Be real and authentic and immediate with your outreach. Leverage that Trojan fight on background as you're reaching out. Just last week in USC, we had dozens that were gathered together on Capitol Hill in an office room where President Folt came along with many congressional leaders and staffers who all showed their dedication to USC, to being a Trojan. This leverage, this network that you have is so real and strong. You need to lean into it as you're landing your placements and know that you're going to feel the energy. DC is one of the top 3 areas where Trojans land after they graduate. So I want you to be thinking about that and the way that you'll activate this network. When you're strategizing to have your placement in Washington, let's say your ambition is really high. Maybe if you want to one day be in the White House, like these 2 USC students, they're recent alums who are here in the Oval Office. By the way, that is a replica. The White House experience is has their model of the Oval Office that you are invited to come and visit. But even as you're getting a feel for the kinds of opportunities that you want to do for your internship, I want you to have 3 main buckets. Make a moonshot, a really exciting reach for an internship, and then also focus on also some realistic opportunities. The same way that when you applied to college, you probably did a reach school and those in the more natural fit for you when it came to, you knew from your GPA, your background, etc., that and your skills, that what was realistic for you. And then identify your safety net. Always be honest. Use the feedback that you're getting from your search, whether you're getting radio silence, which is really common in DC. Summer internships are the most competitive season for searching. So go into the search knowing that you're going to be competing against many folks who have insider contacts. Keep an open mind about what you're going to be doing, because when you're in Washington, your experience is not just limited to what you're doing in the 9-to-5 day. A lot of internships are kind of flexible these days, and they have hybrid schedules where maybe even for your off hours where you're working remote, maybe you're going to take some of those hours and work in the evening of your, maybe again, this was when you started out on your search, maybe this is your 3rd tier placement where you landed, but you can maximize your DC experience by making sure that you're networking when you're not interning. So think about your whole collective summer experience to make it real and meaningful for you. Stay honest and gritty even throughout your internship. When you log into LinkedIn, if you don't have a profile, you ought to get that rolling just now. So log in, and then you'll find when you click on the alumni link in USC and go to some great career center trainings, leverage all the fabulous resources that Lauren and our great colleagues are managing in the internship web or in Handshake. You're going to see that you have so much power in USC. It's not coming to your door on a silver platter. You do have to flex and work for it, but you're going to be rewarded when you log in, when you click and see in this screenshot where they work. You can choose DC, Washington, DC, as one of the areas, and you're going to find we have over 10,000 alums of USC and our friends in our network. So use that strong network as you're searching. When it comes to housing in DC, we do partner with Turnkey. Reach out to us, see from our websites that you can email us and we'll get you in touch with Turnkey. That's a great option. You have loads of options in Washington, but Turnkey has been a great provider. Also in DC, make sure that you're checking out all the incredible things that this city has to offer. I know even for me, as the years pass, I've lived in Washington for 30 years. And I have noticed that even some of my friends now have become part of my network of when I'm trying to place students at certain agencies. I'll reach out to my friends that I met at Fleet Feet Running, where I first did my marathon training. And many of the folks that I know, again, have come from social connections. So log into some of these ideas that I put here on the screen to maximize and have fun in the Trojan network and also beyond. Connect with us at this incredible campus here in DuPont Circle. The link that I put on this site shows you, it's a visitor access. So let's say many of you are doing hybrid internships in DC, go ahead and be welcome to come visit us and use this pretty space that you're looking at right now. If you have a hybrid internship or even 100% remote, then you can come to the second floor of the Capitol campus. You can walk across the street to Tate, one of my favorite cafes, and get a great coffee and a croissant, and then also do your work very comfortably in this great setup. So as I wrap things up, I'm now again just am ending on a reminder to leverage DC as your academic and professional classroom, but also your playground. So make sure that you're reserving some time for fun as we connect you with the USC in DC. Now that I've given you an overview, I'm gonna pass it over first to Chris. So Chris, if you would, I'm gonna pass the baton to you, and I'm just gonna start by asking you with an introduction on who you are, and then I know you have to go soon. Thanks for taking precious time away from your internship. So if you would introduce us with first your name, your major, and what you're doing here in DC, and then we'll go from there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm a current standing like junior. I'm interning for Congresswoman Judy Chu in DC. And as for why I chose DC, it's because I feel like I grew up in LA my whole life, and it's a very great change for one thing. It's a great way for me to just see. Well, I'm very interested in the policy side of urban planning, which being in DC allowed me to like see that firsthand, and just like talking to staffers, talking to people in the office. Although my internship is not completely like focused on urban planning, it is a great way for me to better understand the district I grew up in. So, and I always had a passion growing up there where it's like I want to improve public transportation, I want to improve housing, I want to make it more urban and like those type of things. And just being able to work in the office, connecting with constituents and all that allowed me to like just better understand the needs of the people. And one side of urban planning is not just focused on transportation and housing. There's also like the health aspects. There's like the social aspect, just a lot of other things too. And yeah, I would say for the most part, that's the thing that kind of like drew me in, because I wanted to see a little more like a federal level type thing where it's like I've been talking to constituents, I've been talking to the people in my community, but I haven't like been able to like in a sense like do something about it. And having like an internship on the Hill allows me to kind of like make an impact in a way, even if it doesn't feel like if it's much, it's like you got to make the most out of it. And I would say for the most part I'm trying to. And I for the past 7 weeks I'm here, and it's been great. So yeah.
Well, thanks. It's a terrific overview. Tell us now, Chris, how did you land your internship placement in DC? And any advice that you would give to students as they start their search?
I mean, like what you said, it's great to start early. It is, especially if you're passionate about something. I would say I landed my internship just because I was interested. I mean, I I grew up in Monterey Park, which Congresswoman Judy Chu serves under. Well, she serves that district. And like I've always been just curious about, I guess like, some ways working for her. So I kind of use that in a sense where it's like I connected with how I'm very like I understand the well, I grew up in the district and this is the district that I'm very familiar with. And I just got like what you said, be authentic, talk to people. And also I guess one thing that really helped me on my application was a letters of rec from one of the professors at USC. And that's one thing that I felt that like really benefited in the application process. Um, yeah, he just well, Professor Burnett, he's one of my urban planning teachers or professors, and he gave me a recommendation after my whole interview process, and he just talked about how like I'm very passionate about the district and very passionate about my interest in transportation. And yeah, that's basically how for the most part landed me this internship. And I feel like as for advice, just try your best to look for something that you're passionate, but at the same time, something you can connect with. Because I feel like that's what they kind of do look for in especially Hill interns. Like you don't have to be from the district. It's just it could be a district you went to school at. Like for example, like if you go to like everybody goes to USC, you can always connect with Congresswoman Kamala Dove, which represents a district. If you went to like a high school in a particular district, or your parents grew up in a district, something like that, as long as you're kind of familiarized with the district you're applying to, that would be the most beneficial. Um, yeah, just find something related and just kind of like talk to people, connect, and introduce yourself from there.
Yeah, awesome, Chris. Chris, tell me, when you were looking, did you look at house.gov in to look up your congresswoman in your case? Like, tell me really specifically, like the way that you were targeting openings and the way, like, did you in your case also use LinkedIn? I'd love to hear other details about it.
Well, yes, definitely. I use LinkedIn just to kind of see like the staff. I mean, most of the staffers are public information and all that, so it's relatively easy to see like who works for the office. Um, as for like which website I use, I think the easiest way would just to be look like if you're interested in working on the Hill, the easiest way is just to Google your representative, whoever that is. There, if you're interested in a Democratic office or just anyone, a representative that works for like a Democrat, then I think there's a website called Dome Watch. It's like DOME watch .com, I think, or .org, which kind of like it shows you all like the listings that are open for like Democrats, like Democratic offices. Um, yeah, just look through that as well. But for the most part, they're usually hiring, like they're usually looking for interns. So it's not really an issue in terms of just like whether they're like it's if the position is open or not, unless it's like a new, unless it's like a new like newly elected official. But for next year, it should be okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Awesome. Great tips. Um, I know Mia had been protective with your time, so I don't want to take too much more, but I have another essential question for you
Yeah.
before you turn it over to Mia. And that is, as college students generally coming to DC, most folks are on a strict budget. Tell us too if you have advice on the ways to maximize having fun while staying on a budget in living in DC.
Okay. Well, what I like to do is, well, meal prep is definitely one thing to save money during the week. What I like to do is that I would just usually hang out with friends on the weekends, like usually spend money on the weekends. But for the most part, I would say DC, it's the cost of living or just like, overall, like just food and stuff like that. It shouldn't be like that much of a difference between like DC and LA. However, I think one thing that is good that I liked here is that transportation, if you have the U Pass, it is free. Basically, you can go anywhere for free. It's
It's
not free, but you have to
amazing.
pay like a thing at the end, but it's for the most part, it's you get it back if you take the metro every day.
Yeah. And by the way, that
Museum, yes.
yeah, the UPass is available for folks who come in the fall and the spring. So if you're still just thinking, okay, I'm going to be in DC at some point, then you can get that fall spring. Summer, unfortunately, the U
I see.
Pass is not available. So, and I think I'm so glad that Chris raised this because DC culture is so different from LA in that you can get everywhere or most places on the bus
For
or
the
the
most part.
metro. And so
Yeah.
I'm a personal fan of metro. A lot of people like the bus better. We've also got bikes and Ubers everywhere. And the traffic is not as bad as LA, I'd say. But I would say that it would be a mistake to have a car. I mean, at most, I think it would be
Yeah.
rare. I never hear of students bringing their cars to DC. But again, it is a very easy place to navigate on public transportation.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Like transportation's amazing here. Like yeah, for the most part it can take you anywhere. If you're like within DC and like the surrounding areas around Virginia and Maryland. Um, and as for saving money, I think just to have fun as well. All the museums, for the most part, like especially all the Smithsonian's, they're all free. So that is one thing that's amazing. And then there's also like sometimes some art galleries have like free days. Just I guess keep wary of that. That's also if you're interested in like going to museum, I think DC is one of the best cities for that. So if that's your interest and in terms of saving money, that is one way to do so. Um, let's see. I think I think like just yeah, my advice would just be yeah, just keep track of like like how much you're spending, but it's mostly if you limit yourself to the weekends and just after like a long like kind of like a little treat at the end of the week, then it should be okay. That's my experience so far here. And
Awesome.
yeah. Mhm.
Another benefit is that DC has so many free things. So
Yeah.
the museums are all free. I mean, you have some of the most incredible artworks in the world with free access. Sometimes you have to be a little bit planful for example, you have to sometimes reserve a spot to go into a museum. And even as a longtime resident of DC who I go to museums every so often, sometimes I'm even a little surprised that some of the museums I'm used to require a little planning, but it's still easy
Mhm.
access. And again, mostly free. The National Zoo is a great place to go.
Right.
We've got the
Yeah,
panda.
they just had pandas too this year, so that's a
Yeah.
plus.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. At this point,
Um,
I'm gonna turn it over to Mia. Chris, you are warmly welcome to
okay.
stay, but again, with time constraints, don't feel pressured to stay.
Oh, understood.
So yeah, thank you again so much, Chris.
Um,
And by the way, if you have questions, feel free to keep putting them in the chat. Thank you, Lauren, for helping to moderate some of this as well. Mia, your turn for your introduction and then tell us about landing your placement in DC. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Turn down here. Yeah. Sorry, me and Amy are in the same room. So, um, first of all, I want to start off. Feel free to turn on your cameras. I hate having to talk to just a screen. This is a small group, so feel comfortable. My name is Mia Fields, and I'm a public policy major on the law track with a minor in psychology. Currently, I'm working at the USC Capitol campus in DC. Um, and the way I landed my internship was, this whole ordeal. I had no idea what I was doing. I was super stressed, and it can feel super stressful, but don't be stressed. Stay patient. It felt like, it was like a vacuum. I was submitting all these applications over and over again and feeling like I wasn't getting anything back. But finally, the first day I landed in the airport here, I ended up getting 2 jobs, which was awesome. I think the best way, at least to start, well, first of all, start early. Everybody is saying it, but I cannot express this more. You start as early as possible. They might feel super time consuming on top of schoolwork and finals, but you get better at filling out these resumes, or not resumes, but applications, they become quicker and quicker as you go, the more you do. But the biggest thing is to have your resume ready. You can go onto an application, fill out all the questions, and then it's going to ask for your resume. And the best way to amp up your resume is obviously, you know, with your experiences. But there's on Handshake, you can have advisement meetings. They're called career advisement meetings. And there are people at USC, it's like through the USC Handshake, and they have so much good advice, like formatting, how much you should have on, how much information you should have on it, how far back you should go, if you should have high school information from on it. And another big thing is catering your resume to the job you want. Um, and that kind of connects with another point I have is to not be super picky with where you're applying. You want to apply everywhere. If it's, you know, you want to connect, like Chris was saying, like certain places on the Hill, like you want to connect with that representative, especially like within your district. It's very nice to connect, and they love that, and you can cater your resume to that application. But also, you might see an opportunity to apply somewhere, and you might not be interested in it at all, but still apply, 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 apply. You don't want to skip over anything. If the deadline, you know, is later and you have time, submit it. It goes, you know, you get better and better at it, and you will get something out of your internship, no matter if it's truly what you're interested in. I applied everywhere. I had no idea where I was going to end up, but I ended up choosing Capital Campus because it has or at least this internship has a range of things that I do, rather than, you know, just being on the Hill and focusing on one district. I do a bunch of different things for USC, and I've taken just as much out of it as I would have on the Hill or anywhere. And don't just apply to on the Hill. There's so many representatives you could apply to. But there's so many other companies everywhere in DC. There's think tanks, nonprofits, you can do volunteer work. There's so much more than just on the Hill. There's private companies, which are a little bit more difficult to get, but you know, if you're truly interested in being in DC and you think you're ready to be in DC, your resumes will cater to that, and you will get one. All it takes is just one yes, and you just have to be really, really patient. And it feels stressful, but don't be stressed. Where the company that wants you want to be with the company that wants you to, and that's where you're going to feel most welcomed when you work there. And when it comes down to, you know, your actual work environment and culture. So, um, you know, if you get a rejection, don't let that discourage you. That's not where you're meant to work when you're there. Even if you got that, you probably wouldn't have wanted to be somewhere where you weren't wanted as well. So the company that wants you or the representative that wants you, you will get that, and you will have a good experience at your job when it comes to your day to day. And then the last thing I think is one of the biggest points is you can apply through Handshake, you can apply through just looking up your representatives or just looking up companies. So many places have internship opportunities, but finding connections through USC to those opportunities is a really big deal because you know, USC alum love having USC students as their interns. There's so many different ways to connect, and I think the best way to do that is to reach out to anybody you think could possibly help you if possible. Like my program director, Nicole, I reached out to her thinking, you know, she works in LA, she wouldn't have any connects to DC, but she put me in connection with this man who lives in DC. His name is Steph. Damond, and he would send me weekly, like 3 internships that he knows the people personally and has a little bit of a connection. And I was applying there, and that was one of the jobs I got, the second job that I got when I got here. And he was super helpful, and I just had one Zoom meeting with him, and he was sending me connects over and over again every week, and I was just applying and applying and applying. And all you have to do is just reach out to anybody you could possibly think you might think they might not be helpful, and they might not be, but communicating and showing a genuine interest through ways of not just the external application or just an internal application on Handshake really takes you so far. And it also helps you network and meet new people. So yeah.
And just to echo Mia's point, is that when she was speaking about the kinds of opportunities that you're going to get, it takes that persistence. And then when it comes to timing, I would say that it doesn't always, the student who's like the A student who's got a wealth of leadership experience in different fields, even top students like that don't necessarily always land immediately. And also, there's just not always a rational, logical through line that tells you if you do A, B, C, you're going to land by X time. Internship searching really has this own unusual timing in and of itself where it's unpredictable. I do notice that for the many years that I've been supporting students as they land placements, is that the highest volume of activity does happen for summer placements, even in the month of May. So for me, 30 years in the field supporting students, with that many years, I still get myself anxious that again in May, not everyone has landed for their placement, but you know what? That's just how it works. And like Mia was saying, this is your occasion at USC, let's say in exam time, if you're learning some good techniques for your wellness, like trot out those techniques and use them and realize that if you do keep an open mind and if you do stay persistent, you are going to land. And it's not that you're doing things wrong necessarily, although you should reach out to the Career Center or some of us, because we can be pointing you in the right direction. If maybe you didn't notice that you made a typo in your phone number on your resume. I've seen that happen before. So make sure that as you're doing the search that you're not doing it in isolation. Make sure that you're talking to folks, that you're staying connected. And then let's see, at this point too, I'm gonna turn it back to Mia to see. Mia, do you have pro tips on having fun in DC and also staying on a budget, living here?
Yeah, so I think we've like kind of reiterated everything that helps with the budget. There's so many free things. There's museums, the mall, you can go walk around. You can get a Capitol tour from a friend that works on the Hill, or that's what I do. I don't work on the Hill. So to get a Capitol tour, I mean, they're always free, but if you have a friend working on the Hill, you can go and get an intern private tour, which is really fun. There's the Arboretum, which is beautiful. But one of the biggest things I really enjoyed about DC that helped with the budgeting was this thing called Restaurant Week. There was a week where I think it extended into 2 weeks instead of just one. But certain restaurants, they have like little like set menus and they're cheaper than they normally would be, so that more people learn about the restaurant and go to it, because I mean some of the restaurants around here can be super expensive. So if they want new clientele and more people to try their restaurant, a lot of people do that during that week. I think we went out to dinner like 4 times that week, and it was super cheap compared to if you were to go on a normal day to certain restaurants. Um, but the biggest tip for fun, I think I love Georgetown. I think Georgetown is a beautiful area. It has so many different restaurants, shopping. Shopping is a big thing. And the overall vibe over there is kind of like LA. Um, if you want to kind of get out of DC a little bit, Georgetown is a really nice place to go. Um, but I'm trying to think. There's a lot of good restaurants. I mean, not just based on Restaurant Week. I live in Noma. It's like near this area called Union Market, and they have some of the best restaurants I've ever had. I tried a sushi place there, and it actually topped any sushi I've had in LA, which was very rare. So there's so much to do, whether you're on a budget. There's constantly events that you can sign up for free, happy hours, networking events. USC hosts a bunch of events. We had the caucus launch where we got to see Carol Full and two congresswomen that, or no, three congresswomen that represent LA areas and were USC alumni, which was really, really cool. So you'll never be bored. There's always something to do. And stay patient when applying. Sometimes you don't find out you're going to get that internship till the day before you leave to DC or a week before you leave to DC. In my case, the day after I landed in DC, which was very stressful, but it's worth it, and it's worth your time.
So at this point, we've hit the overview that we wanted to share. So we're happy to open this up to either you can unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can chat in the meeting chat. We're happy to answer questions that way. So we'll stick around. If there are no questions, feel free to go along your way. I'm gonna put my email here in the meeting chat as we wait for anyone to come up with a question.
And questions can be, about the internship, landing an internship, but it could be about anything about DC. I'm in DC right now, actually doing it. So, little questions that you have that may not be just about your internship could be helpful as well. And you could also feel free to drop them in the chat if you don't want to turn your audio on.
Hi, I have a question. I know that you said that it's never like early enough to apply for internships. I'm looking for internships like for the summer, possibly, like in DC. I'm searching right now. Um, would you say like I feel like this is kind of a little bit of an obvious question, but little basic. But do you always like adjust your resume, and how would you say like when would you say is the best time to apply for internships? Like in academic year wise?
Oh, okay. Like in line of like freshman, sophomore, junior year.
Yeah.
I feel like it could depend on, I think junior year is really the time to come. I personally thought that because I wanted to come second semester my junior year because, you never want to miss football season. And a lot of people go abroad during this time. And so it's like a common time where everybody kind of goes out and goes to a different city, a different country. And so, all of your friends will be going abroad, or most people choose this time. And then you've also had 2 years of experience living on your own. I think knowing that you can move across the country and be comfortable with doing that is a big deal. So, freshman year, that's super difficult because you don't even know how to live on your own yet. Sophomore year, you get more time to experience, get used to USC classes, USC professors. By the time you're a junior, I feel like making the transition to DC was a lot easier because I don't know, I just felt a lot more experienced, a lot older. And most people are over 20, 21. And moving across the country can be scary, but with more experience, I think in college helps a lot when moving so far away.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
yeah, I agree with that too. And I'd say in addition to thinking about those great points is that you really should also choose the time that works for you, meaning yes, junior year is kind of the classic time, but let's say for some reason your mother's college roommate is going to be gone for the summer and they told you, oh, you can stay in my house. And you know, it's your, even you're just wrapping up your first year at USC. You could come and do it. It's a little harder to land when you don't have as much experience, but I have seen students without any professional experience yet still land meaningful placements, even in the summer. Yes, it takes that tenacity and it takes that ability to hear the radio silence that's common when you're applying to internships, that you don't get responses for most of the time when you're applying. But when you again stay tenacious, when you think about reasons to follow up, when you maximize the USC network, you are going to land. And I'd say as well that this is a stepping stone kind of experience. So if you do land at Mana Inc., this is a small nonprofit where one of my students was looking at some of the bigger name associations. There's an association for everything in DC, but they didn't land in some of their first big name choices. So they landed at a smaller nonprofit. They ended up doing some work with research that involved Excel and some analysis, and that wasn't really what they'd initially planned on doing. It wasn't necessarily the most fun in the moment, but in the end, the student loved it because the student saw that the research that they did helped advance the organization's work, and that built the students some new skills. They felt more confident in what they could do. So when it comes to your timing, etc., let your own instincts and feelings kind of drive you, and keep on checking in with us. I mean, the reason why you're at USC is you chose this school that has a lot of resources to support you. And again, they're not going to come on that silver platter. But when you reach out to us, oh, and again, I keep on saying Lauren is providing a wealth of on so you can see here she has an internship guide that's well crafted. So keep on reading through those resources, make some appointments. I know for me too, when I'm working on a big project, like a search as in this, it does help to have those nudges, whether your network is including your friends, your family, and again, the occasional check-in with the Career Center, that's going to help you score. So great question. And by the way, too, I see that there was a question too about a student had asked about computer science and engineering. Let's see. So use the Viterbi resources in addition to the general resources. So DC is it's HQ2, Amazon's second headquarters. It also has so many other tech companies that are doing a lot in engineering. It tends to be that engineering and computer science are a little more linear in the way they do the recruiting. Often the social sciences, or you go through and do more networking. I mean, indeed, in computer science and engineering, you can do that, but because often the technical skills are so much in need, that you'll see that there are often internships that are leading you into jobs. And so they're a little bit of a different category, and they're often looking at nurturing a talent pool in the longer term to possible openings. Oh, and thank you, Lauren, for putting the Viterbi link right in the chat there. So that's a great way to go about the search. Great. Okay, I'm looking at the clock, and I think we're about rounding out the time here. We're so grateful for your time and spending here. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Mia, Chris, and Lauren for making this happen. We're so pleased that all of you are here. We want to see you at the Capitol campus, so please do come by. Lauren and colleagues at the Career Center have a link on Handshake that shows you that we want to hear from you where you are landing. And there's a survey that will help us take into account where you are. And so this, I don't know if Lauren, you're in a chance to chime in there, but again, you'll find the link of a survey for your summer activity. So check that out when you're landing because we want to hear from you there. Also, again, come by and see us, check out our website, and we're going to host some events and a student mixer or two this summer. So do let us know. Thanks so much, Lauren, for that link to this important survey. Thank you again for your time, and we'll see you in the capital city. Be well.
Thank you.